Hey, family. There's a lot of people asking about Junior, talking about Junior. They like his videos. Here's his fucking fat ass right here. But anyway, I'm going to tell you the story about Junior. Here's the story about Junior. I can't say the story about Junior without talking about my ex. It's kind of a sore spot. Really fucking sore spot. But anyway, like, we ended up moving into a house, renting a house, and and we couldn't have a dog. I wouldn't really want a dog anyway because I live in Southern California, and to me, I'm not a fan of renting a place and having your dog shitting in other people's yards and running around with it with a little plastic bag. And I don't know. I think it's just mean, but whatever. But we could have a cat. I lobbied for us to have a cat, and the owner said yes, and we could have a cat. Now, I I was never a cat guy. I'm a dog guy. I grew up hunting and fishing and all kinds of stuff, Michigan boy. And cats weren't cool. You didn't have a cat. Well, I found out a friend of mine, Happening Harry, actually, he has a Maine Coon. And I learned about Maine Coons that they got the personality more like a dog. They're more like a family cat. They're more like not the skittish hiding around ones. Well, a lot of them anyway, or whatever what I seen. So I said, all right, well, if we get a cat, I want a Maine Coon. Now, I set myself up to get a Maine Coon. I went looking for breeders. I wanted a big one, a pure one. And long story short, or long story longer, I, I almost got caught up in a scam. I was going to order this Maine Coon from Texas. My bank kept freezing my card and said this might be a scam. And anyway, it was a mess. I almost got scammed more than once and ended up having to freeze my card and change it to a new one and this and that. Well, this is one of the times you're grateful for Big Brother, right? Because Facebook is Big Brother's watching and they're paying attention that I'm looking for Maine Coons. So here comes advertisements of Maine Coons popping up all over my shit. Now, then it pops up a rescue, a Maine Coon. He's way out there in the desert, and apparently it was a cat breeder and a cat hoarder, and he was in bad shape. They didn't know if he was going to live. He was too young. So anyway, we go out there, and there he was. His siblings had passed away, and he was in bad fucking shape, dude. He had ringworm in his nose. He had intestinal problems and tapeworms and digestive problems and infections. He had he was malnourished really bad. His eyes were crusty and his butt was all poopy and messy because he didn't have a mom to teach him how to clean himself or nothing. He was just pitiful. He was a mess. They didn't know if he was going to live. And and here he come walking up, and he jumped up on this little chair and nuzzled up to me and stuff, and I started crying. I was like, all right, we're fucking keeping this fucker, right? So, and again, not to talk bad about my ex, she wrapped him up, and we brought him home, and she loved him and I loved him, and I promised him that, you know, he is never, ever going to be hurt. He's never going to be abandoned. He's never going to be cold. He's never going to know fear. I'm like, you're going to a beach house, fool. We live in a beach house 3 blocks from the ocean, and you're going to have a life of palm trees. And we brought Junior home. Now, it was bad. It was touch and go. It was using boric acid to clean his eyes, feeding him medicine, with and having to clean his butt all the time because he was really messy. He couldn't clean himself, so it was always me taking him in the bathtub and washing his butt. And but anyhow, so he ends up getting better and growing up, and he's the most chill, fucking cat you've ever seen in your life. I've never seen nothing like it. He doesn't hide. He's not skittish. If somebody comes to the door, he runs and greets them at the door. He's a total family cat. He's got weird things like he won't eat unless I'm here. If he says he's hungry and I feed him, I put food out, and I walk away, he'll leave. He's got to be where I'm at all the time. We write music together. We do. If I leave, he sits by the door. He's on me all the time. But he won't eat until everybody comes and sits down and settles down. And when everybody's settled down and sitting, everything's chill, then he'll eat. So anyway, so I make all these promises to him and this and that. So when my ex left, it was bad. And you know, I think I was more angry about that than me. Because when them people come in and started clearing out the house and moving furniture and taking and like he got scared and he was fucking hiding in his litter and he was and I'm like, I was so upset over that. I'm like, what we promised him, man, like anyway, that's another thing. And she tried to take him. She's gonna take him. So one of the first agreements I made is, look, you can have everything, you can do whatever the fuck you want, but don't do that to him. Just look, just reasonably, okay? After all he's been through and all this going on right now, don't uproot him and put him in some little apartment somewhere and lock him in a room and this and that. At the very least, with all this what's going on, let him stay in his house because it was ours. You know, it was ours. Not one person did more than the other. Really, it didn't. I won't say that. I won't lie. I won't say. But anyway, so I made a deal. Part of the Junior stays with me, and he does. And I said she can come visit him or whatever, but that's not going to work out. It's. So anyway, Junior's with me. So now I recommit my promise to him because I'm like, I tell him almost every day, I'm sorry, boy. I'm sorry, dude. I didn't want it. I didn't expect that. And we promised him that wouldn't happen, and it did. So, now, part two of the story is I'm a sober alcoholic. Without getting into all of it, I do my steps. I'm a growing, sober, spiritual, in sobriety. I'm not like dry. I'm an active participant in my recovery. So one of the things I do, I've done my steps several times, and part of my steps, for anybody who knows 12-step programs, I have to make amends. I have to go through with all the wrong I did, all the shit I did, everything, and clear it up. Because as it turns out, alcohol wasn't my problem. Alcohol was my solution. My problem was something else. So, anyway, when I was a kid, I'll try and be clean about it in short. I was mean to cats because let's face it, I was totally would succumb to peer pressure anytime. I'm a people pleaser. I wanted to be cool. I'm a little guy. I didn't want to be picked on. And people didn't love cats because that wasn't cool. We love dogs. We love hunting dogs. We love tough dogs, and nobody liked cats. Well, anyway, as it turns out, I grew up in this poor part of town in South Wyandotte. You wouldn't know it now because it's all gentrified and highfalutin, but back in the day it was all dirt and poor and south side of the tracks, very literally and figuratively and literally. So, and there were lots of cats. There probably still are cats in Wyandotte. You guys will have to chime in and let me know if there's still cats running around. Anyway, hundreds of cats all over my neighborhood all the time. Cats and pigeons, man, South Detroit. So, there was a guy across the street. He raised champion Dobermans. His name was Dan, and he raised these champion Dobermans. Well, one of the problems he had was he had this champion Doberman, and the dog kept escaping, kept jumping out to go after cats. So he'd come home from work once a week, every other week, or what have you, and his dog's in jail. Because the dog catcher would catch him, put him in jail. He'd have to go bail him out. He'd have to go pay money and all this stuff, and he couldn't keep this from happening. Because all the cats, and the dog would go after the cats. He'd get arrested, and he's got to bail his dog out of jail. So anyway, me being Mr. Cool, and I don't like cats and everything else, he comes to me and makes me an offer and pays me and says, look, I'll give you some money for each of these cats you get rid of. So something I'm really not proud of. When I was a kid, I went down a cat hunting spree when I was a kid. And so this is something I've never forgot in my entire life. I've never forgotten being mean to them cats. Right? Now, this is something I can't fix it. When I do my steps and I make amends to people and I put things right and I do things, in ways to, put things right, I can't fix that. I can't bring them back. So one of the things I did was when I got Junior, I said, I'm going to love this fucking cat. And I'm going to take care of him for all his days. And he's going to be more loved than any living creature on the face of this earth. And if something should happen to him, and one day, he goes and this and that, I will get another one. I will do that. This is the best I can do. I will take an injured, hurt, or lonely, or unloved animal, and I will love the motherfucker out of that animal. I will love him till the end. And I will take care of him. Okay, he's hopping up because Jeremy's back home now. Jeremy just went and got some brakes for his car. Look, Junior's going to go to the door because my nephew Jeremy just showed up and he's got to go greet him at the door. He heard him pull up. But anyway, that's the story behind Junior. Junior is just a loved, beautiful, awesome freaking cat. He's incredible. He's a family. He's my best friend. He writes music with me. He's been to the beach with me. He does whatever. He still doesn't clean his butt right. He still doesn't do things completely right, and I take care of him, and I love him.